So that's where we're at right now. I know a big question among a lot of you watching right now is what the deal is with Section 3 of the 14th Amendment. Section 3 of the 14th Amendment says that if you've previously taken an oath of office and you have engaged in or given aid or comfort to those who've engaged in insurrection, that you are disqualified from taking the oath of office again. You are disqualified from holding federal office again. And so on its face, it is pretty damn clear that Donald Trump falls into that bucket of both engaging in and giving aid or comfort to those who've engaged in insurrection as a previous office holder who would therefore be disqualified from taking office again. The reality is that there is a pretty vast gulf here between what should happen and what will happen. And I wish that I could sit here and tell you that because the plain text of the Constitution in black and white says that Donald Trump should not be allowed to take the oath of office, that that's what will happen today, on January 20th, or that would prevent this process today from moving forward. But I sadly can't tell you that. In the same way that I can't tell you that the Supreme Court has to adhere to the plain text of the Constitution in its rulings, I can't tell you that. There is, again, a pretty vast gulf here between what should happen and what will happen. What should happen is that it should be abundantly clear by virtue of Trump's actions on January 6, 2021, and in the immediate aftermath of January 6, 2021, and even preceding January 6, 2021, that he should be disqualified from taking the oath of office. What will happen is that he will be able to take the oath of office by virtue of the fact that, A, there is not enough support in the Democratic Party alone to prevent this from happening, and B, there is no shortage of cowardice in the Republican Party, even among people for whom it was abundantly clear 4 years ago today that Trump was disqualified. Those people have come around because they view their standing in the Republican Party, in Donald Trump's Republican Party, as being more important than any adherence to the U.S. Constitution. And I've said this before in my videos, and I'll say it again right now, but our laws and our adherence to the Constitution is only as strong as everybody's collective willingness to uphold it. And right now, there is only about 50% buy-in to the ideals of the Constitution and to our laws right now from members of our government. And they're only the people on the left. And the right has decided collectively, because they view Donald Trump as their vehicle for power, that what they're going to do is disregard the plain text of the Constitution in deference to Donald Trump. And I know people watching this right now are upset to hear me say that, and I'm upset to be the one saying it. I'm going to be a pragmatist here. Look, I can say this from two perspectives. From an idealistic perspective, I can say there is not a shadow of a doubt that Donald Trump is disqualified from taking the oath of office, based on the plain text of the Constitution, based on Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, based on the fact that he clearly gave aid or comfort to those who incited an insurrection on January 6th, if we don't just go ahead and make the argument that he himself engaged in insurrection on January 26th. But from a pragmatic perspective, I also have to acknowledge right now that there is no appetite among this Republican Party to deprive him of the ability to take the oath of office. And so, again, I wish I had better news here to report. I wish there was something that I could say that could restore some faith in the processes of our government right now. But it doesn't look like there is the appetite among the people who have the ability to take that stand and actually usher in, to do what's right. And look, even if Democratic elected officials tried to do it, it would be challenged in court and would go up to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court is a wholly owned subsidiary of Donald Trump, and we've already seen the ways in which they will be deferential to him as it relates to this very issue. Remember, Trump was an adjudicated insurrectionist in a California court. I believe the judge was Judge Wallace. He was also an adjudicated insurrectionist in Colorado in a trial court. That was upheld at the Colorado Supreme Court. That was appealed to the U.S. Supreme Court. The U.S. Supreme Court overturned the ruling of the Colorado Supreme Court and basically said that Donald Trump wouldn't be able to have his name kept off the primary ballot in Colorado. Now, there is a world in which I do agree somewhat with their ruling, in that Section 3 of the 14th Amendment doesn't say that your name can't be on the primary ballot. It says that you can't take an oath of office. Of course, the understood interpretation of that is if they're not going to keep him off the primary ballot, then they're also not going to do what they needed to do to keep him off, to prevent him from taking the oath of office in the first place. I think that was the understood interpretation of their ruling. And so, but what it says more broadly is that even if this was challenged, there is not the support among the final arbiters of the U.S. Constitution, which is the Supreme Court justices. And without that, there isn't anything that Democrats would be able to do to prevent Donald Trump from taking the oath of office. And so that's the situation that we're in right now. And I know that there are going to be people who say, look, you just got to keep fighting until the very last second. But I also think it's important to some degree to recognize, to know where to spend our political capital, and to be pragmatic in the sense that we can all see that he's not going to face any obstacle in terms of taking the oath of office. And so where is our energy best spent? Is it best spent trying to prevent something that is clearly going to happen from happening, or is it best spent trying to figure out which hills to die on, which battles to pick, and where we can actually win? And I would say, look, and this is coming from me, somebody who has literally dedicated his entire life to fighting against Trump and Trumpism and to promoting the ideals of the Democratic Party, progressive ideals more broadly. I do think that the latter it is probably going to serve us better in terms of, knowing where to pick our battles and knowing which hills to die on. I think that that's going to serve us better moving forward. And so that's what I'm going to be focusing on right now and as we head into the next 4 years here.